Good evening and welcome. It's May 31st, the end of May. And I want to give a warm welcome for finding this live stream that I'm hosting. You are here to fight CPS stop taking our children. And I'm your host, Bob Pace. You found me on Facebook, one of two Facebook rooms I have. One is Fight CPS with Bob Pace. The other one is Fight CPS and Stop Taking Our Children. Second one is my evening broadcast. I'm on 7 days a week in the evenings at 7 p.m. In the mornings, Monday through Friday, I'm on at 10. And on the weekends, I'm on at 8. So tomorrow morning, it'll be 8 a.m. And those are all Pacific Standard Time. I'm broadcasting from the west coast of California at Surf City, USA, 3 blocks from the ocean. Anyway, I'm here to help you fight your CPS case, to help you because you're at your wit's end because you just discovered or just found out about this agency that may have gone rogue in your area. Not all CPS are bad, but a lot of them are, and they will give you lots of problems. I, too, am a victim of CPS. My family was destroyed back in 2010. I have 5 years of harassment. Then in 2015, they stole my 3 youngest of my 6 children. Those 3 were taken and they weren't in danger. They're all enrolled at school, and there was nothing their mother or me was endangering the children with. There's nothing. But the MO for the Orange County Child Protection System is to take children no matter what. Also, I learned a lot of things. I've made 5 rules. I learned you need to have a real attorney to defend yourself. You need to do documentation. You need to say no to social workers, not let them in your home. You also need to spend time on the internet researching all there is about CPS in your case. And lastly, you need to gather up the documents and put them in an envelope. And I forgot to tell you, my rule number 2 is to create documents. And one of the most important documents is the timeline incident log. Every time you have an incident, you keep track of your incidents in a timeline format on a log. And that is probably the most important document that you can create because it's like a journal. Now, this is an interactive live stream, which means besides me talking, you guys can also talk by way of first text in a message. It should be in the format of a comment or a question, and it should pertain to CPS. We're here to talk about the Child Protection System. That's what I call CPS. Now, there's many names out there like Orange County Children's Services, Department of Children and Family Services, Department of Children's Services, the cabinet. It goes on and on and on. And I'm not going to sit here and talk about every one of them. There's thousands and thousands of names. It's really easy to say CPS. Everybody knows what CPS is. It's the Child Protection System. It was first put into act in 1962 by Congress that told social services to create a group of social workers that would protect our children from neglect and abuse. They're also supposed to do something called family reunification, which a lot of the services have forgotten about. And it doesn't help when the government decided in 1997 to pass a law called the Incentive Law, where CPS entities are rewarded $35,000 per child if the child's adopted into foster care. That closes down the children reunification. The sad part is the best parents to raise our children is our biological parents. If they screwed up and had a little hiccup here or there, there are parenting classes they can take. All their behaviors can be corrected. But it's very important to keep the family together. And they don't want to do that. They want to lie and, oh boy, retaliate. They're really, really bad. Now, also, when you text in a message, please show your first name, your city or county, your state, and country. Now, all of you from the United States, so all I need is your state, but I have many of you. In fact, I have 23 countries I've talked to, include the United States, and 22 of them are outside the United States, and they've been on my show. They've called in, they've texted in, and so forth. I have Indonesia, Bangladesh, India, then up to Middle East. I have Libya and Saudi Arabia. Then over to Africa, I have Liberia to Sudan, to Republic of Congo, to Rwanda, to Mozambique, and then to South Africa. Then up to Europe, I got England, Scotland, and Wales, and Denmark and Sweden. Then across the pond to North America, I have Canada, the United States, and all 50 states, including the District of Columbia, south of border Mexico, and South America, north of Brazil, on the East Coast, Grenada. Then across the South Pacific, New Zealand, and then the land down under, Australia. So that gives you a cross reference. And all those people, they have called in. There's over 1,800 people that have called in for the last 19 months. I started in October of 2023, and I've been going nonstop twice a day, 7 days a week. That's 14 live streams a week. And all the times I've given are the West Coast time, Pacific times. Now, besides texting a message, you can also do something, be on my show as a guest. That way I can take more of you that like to talk, because I can take up to 9 of you on this live stream, and me makes 10. So I can have up to 10 people talking about their case and helping one another. We all have to take turns. But I'd love to have you on my guest. All you have to do is write my show producer, Grace, and Vincent W. Davis, and you just pick one of my 14 shows. Or you say, I want Bob's Sunday morning show, or Bob's Saturday night show, or Bob's Friday morning show, or Bob's Wednesday night show. And my show producer, Grace, who's very fortunate I have her that helps with my program, is the one that will set up the time with you to appear on my show. There is no profanity on the show, and there's certainly no eating, drinking, smoking on the show. And we're here to protect our people that we're talking about, so no names about judges, social workers, or the kids or the parents. Now, usually about this time, people come dribbling in. I have 20 to 30 regulars that come in here twice a day. So they'll come in. I'm looking right now to see if any of them are here. Now, they sometimes don't speak up, so you don't see them. But I'm glad that you've joined me here, and hopefully I can tell you some things that help your case. I've created 5 rules. Real quickly, rule 1 is to get an attorney. Rule 2 is to document everything. Rule 3 is say no to social workers and police and don't let them in your home. Rule 4 is to spend a good 80 hours on the internet researching, make sure it's in the right format, city, state, country, and then CPS. And then you can describe exactly what you're looking for. Now that guest for a show producer, her email is grace@vincentwdavis.com, and just put the time, and she'll send you a link and you can get on it. If you get knocked off, it's good again. Now, a third way of interacting in this podcast is to call in to my office phone number. It'll be live, it's right beside me, and I'll put you on the air and we can talk about your case, or maybe you want to help others. You can share a story or ask a question. And my number is there, 626-698-0990. So you can call on that and we can talk. I love to hear what you have to say. The only problem is I can only do one call at a time. That's why being a guest is a lot better. And also, by calling in or being a guest, I will give you 15 minutes of free time with the top attorney in the United States, Vincent Davis. He is feared by the CPS. In fact, they use his videos to show the social workers what you can expect from attorneys. They're really afraid of Mr. Davis. He has 39 years of fighting CPS, and he has gotten thousands of children back. He's also a trial attorney and done numerous trials. He's a pit bull of attorney, and when your case is over, he does lawsuits. And he's won millions of dollars against CPS, both in state court and federal court. Now, the other number on the screen that you see is my office. It's 888-888-6582. If you know you need Mr. Davis right away, there's the number. His hourly is $500. His retainer for LA County and Los Angeles is $5,000 to start off with, approximately $5,000. Now, I'm not an attorney. I'm a loving father and a husband and have raised 6 children. 3 of my children were not part of the family at the time that CPS interfered with my life, but they took my 3 younger children. I had 2 groups of children, and they're both, all my 6 children are beautiful. My firstborn, and that is my second oldest daughter, and then there's another daughter that is the oldest, and then there's my youngest daughter who's taken away, sad to say, from a retaliation by a social worker because she was caught committing perjury in court, which is a criminal offense. Now, there's a website I'd like to visit. It's the Stand Store. It has guides and packaging for coaching or things like that. So it's a real good website. All you need to do is go stand.store/attorney VWD. I can do a lot of help you there. Now we have someone just came in the room, Shelly O. Yeah. Hey, good to hear from you, Shelly. You've been on before. Could you refresh me about where you're from and what your case is about so I can help you, Shelly? Glad to see you. I think you're from Ohio, Shelly O. I think you're from Ohio. If I'm not mistaken, I think you're from Columbus, Ohio, if I remember. Oh, it's very relevant to Missouri. I've had several people from Missouri call in. Hi, Heather. Glad to meet you. Toledo, Ohio. Okay, I was close. It was Ohio, but it's Toledo, Ohio. That's right, Shelly O. Heather, it's everything that you're talking here is relevant that I'm talking about. Things like don't talk to social workers, don't let them in your home. That's applicable in any state you're in. It's common sense. Since this is a criminal matter, you need to be represented by an attorney. That's your excuse out of not meeting them at first. You said you will meet with them, but you need to have your attorney present because this is a legal matter. Now, hopefully you will be able to hire an attorney, a real attorney. If you use the court-appointed one, you got to kick them in the seat of pants to work for you, she or he, because they're not trained in juvenile law, family law, or dependency law. And sad to say, they really hurt your case because they're. I've heard the other day one person in Texas said their court appointed attorney had 100 cases. I know for a fact they average about 30 cases because CPS entity likes to delay the outcome and delay the thing because they get more money. They're paid on a monthly basis. So in order to keep getting that $35,000 a month, oh, excuse me, $60,000 a month for one child. I'm thinking of the $35,000 incentive gift that they get for having a child adopted in social um, foster care, adopted in foster care. And hello, actress 511. What is your question, actress 511? And if you could refresh me where you're from, that'd be great. Right now we have Shelly O from Toledo, Ohio. We got Heather from somewhere in Missouri, and then we have actress. And great, we got someone calling me from New York. All right. Good evening and welcome. This is Bob Pace with Livestream. How can I help you? Well, sure. Can we start from the beginning? And what is your first name? How's it spelled? Oh, okay. I think you said Sophia, right? Okay, Sophia, welcome. And you're from New York. I have lots of people from New York. I have Cassandra from Stanego, New York. I have KK Richardson from Brooklyn, New York. They all have a CPS case. Do you have a story to tell me or a question? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Number two, that's the DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. How does that help the CPS case? And like, what exactly do we say? Like, my situation, I don't know if that's a good question.
It is an excellent question. I put that number up there because a lot of the parents, maybe not you, are at the rope's end. They can't replace the judge. They have to stick with a court-appointed attorney. They've called their mayor of their town. They have called the governor. They've talked to newspapers. They have talked to the civil rights coordinator in the state, and they've talked to the civil rights coordinator at the federal level. What the reason why I have Doge on here is that Doge right now is investigating social services, which is responsible for the child protection system. They're trying to find out what's wrong and where all the government spending is being spent and so forth. So the more people that call Doge, the more they'll investigate and will help your case in the long run. It's like the number does work. It goes to the White House. The website's very informative, and they'll listen and they'll take your information, and they will investigate. You know, it's $1 trillion business that the CPS is making right now. Every year, they're making $1 trillion business. And it's because of the easiness of the money. No one is watching the money. There are no board of directors or supervisor at the top all the way down. It goes from the federal government, where they send billions of dollars to the state government. The state government, in turn, sends millions of dollars to the county. And then the county is responsible for organizing a group of social workers to monitor our children and protect them from neglect and abuse. So the Doge is trying to investigate problems with government operations. And it's a way for parents, as a last resort, if they have to, go there to Doge and complain about their judge or complain about their case or how wrongly their child was taken from them.
And they will get change what the process of what's going on, or something?
Well, they're not going to overnight change in the process. For instance, if it's $1 trillion business, they're going to say, well, where's the money being spent on? What are you spending the money on? And if they come back and say, we give bonuses to the social workers, we give incentives. Social workers should not be working on any kind of incentives or bonuses. That's wrong. My social worker was very corrupt. And she talked about her BMW car, her earrings, her eyelashes, her makeup, her accessories, her clothing. It went on and on and on. That's all she talked about when I saw her. She didn't talk about how my children are doing and how they're protected. So that's what they'll investigate.
Some saying that they need to sign consent for her to have surgery. And then, she's only 2 months old. Now, recently, I did not sign a consent form for her to have surgery. I ended up typing up my own consent form. I looked up the different terms and researched it, and I said I gave only consent for an evaluation by a surgeon, just an evaluation.
What is wrong with your child? What is wrong with your child that they're saying is wrong?
Nurses and whatever. So the nurse had said apparently that she needed to refer my baby for umbilical polyp, and she needed to have emergency surgery. This is what I was texted by my lawyer randomly, and I'm like, wait, I'm emergency surgery. This is very and they knew that I was traveling at the time, so they knew I was not around, and they gave me this text. My lawyer didn't even call me. She needs emergency surgery. She's at this hospital. She's gonna have it at this hospital, and I kind of shared that story. But I came back to where we were at all the cases here in New York, and I found out that, first of all, I called the hospital what they said that she would be going to, and they had no knowledge of my newborn being there or being in their system at all. And it was a really horrible hospital at that, with horrible ratings. And I didn't want her to go there. So I was just more so concerned that they would have her at a really bad hospital and something bad would happen. So I tried to, long story short, I ended up writing my own consent. Lawyers tried to get me to sign the consent forms that they had made up, which had language that included medical records, this and that, mental health stuff. And I was like, the language of their consent forms did not, mental health of a two-month-old is not very dangerous, but it just made me feel uncomfortable because the hospital I wanted her to go to, I have history there. And I don't know if they would try to find a way to bend this consent form to their will and try to get information about me that I may or may not want to share. So I just wrote up my own consent and said that I only consented to an evaluation by a pediatric surgeon. And I put explicitly, I do not consent to any surgery or any procedure.
Now,
I signed that and sent
right
it to my lawyers to maybe send to the social worker. And then I ended up trying to go through this appointment with the surgeon. And he's a very good surgeon. And when I go in, the receptionist tried to delay me from going in the room. I said, I'm the mother and I'm here. She tried to delay me from going to showing me the room. She said, they just went in the back. Just wait right here. She brought me in the back, but she said, wait right here. And she's talking casually to her manager. So you know what? I walked away and I went to look through there to see which room has my newborn in there. Because if you're already discussing with the doctor, or the surgeon, I don't want to miss any part of that. And when I waited a little bit out of respect, but after a few moments, I said, no, I'm looking for my child. And I looked through the rooms, and someone saw me searching around. Are you lost? And showed me to the room of my newborn. And when I walked in, they're already doing the surgical procedure on her. Already doing it. I'm walking in, and I didn't give consent for this. I just came here for information to know what was the cause, how important was it, are there alternatives? And these are questions that I posed to my lawyer, and I also posed to the agency. And I told my lawyers, court-appointed lawyers, that I wanted this information before I can decide to consent to a surgery. I need to know why, or how did this happen? How did she develop this power? And is this because other folks that I worked who are also nurses, the person, they said that this was not something that was required. And from what it looked like in a video call, they were only willing to let me do a video call. They weren't even letting me see my child in person for the past few weeks. Okay, so I could actually see, and I was demanding, I want to see my child before I could do anything. They were trying to keep me from even seeing or looking at her umbilical cord. So eventually they only allowed a video call in which they showed her umbilical cord at a distance, and I kept asking them to come closer. These are the tricks that they were using, so you can't really see. And from what I saw in the pictures, I shared it with other nurses, and they said this does not look serious. And other moms, they said this is going to resolve on its own. So they did the procedure, and I walked in the process. And I dare not make a big fuss and make a big scene, because they're going to take that to the judge and try to maybe exclude me from going to any other appointment. But afterwards, I asked the surgeon, was this necessary? He said no.
Well, here's something I'd like to share with you. They'll make you feel better or worse. I don't know. About 5 days ago, and I don't know if you heard this, I talked about it, a couple from Santa Clarita, Pyron and Jessica, have a 4-month-old child. And the child developed pains in the abdomen area. So they went to their pediatrician. Did you hear about that one? By mistake. By mistake. Okay. Well, here's the same thing. Now, I spent 2 hours with them discussing what it was. It was eventually the gallstones. But my question to you is, and I'm trying to understand what you're saying there. This is umbilical polyp, right? All right. Here's how the umbilical polyp forms. The ophocytic duct connects the yolk sac to the developing embryo's intestine tract during the formation of the embryo, which is called embryogenesis. The 1.5 millimeter embryo at 3 weeks is a small cell called a blastocyst, in which the embryonic ectodermal plate separates into two parts called the anin and yolk sac. A body stalk then suspends these structures with the blastocyst. This intraluminal yolk sac roof becomes a part of the embryonic digestive system. The remainder of the sac forms a 0.20 inches in diameter vessel that may persist throughout pregnancy. Only a narrow tube structure, the OMD, it says here, remains between the developing intestine and the yolk sac by the time the embryo is 6 millimeters long. The OMD and the body stalk elongated as the embryonic sac grows, forming a tubular structure known as the umbilical cord. By the next stage, the OMD is a solid cord that usually vanishes without trace. This can result in Meckel's diverticulum. A patient OMD umbilical cyst, sinuses, or polyp of the duct does not become completely dissolved. The umbilical cord usually slots. Wait. Okay, I didn't know this. I'm learning something. Go ahead.
the medical, what it is medically. The surgeon admitted that it was not necessary. So
why is CPS? Yeah, I was saying, why is CPS a doctor on this issue? You said they have a clinic, a foster care clinic. There's no such thing as a foster care clinic. Yeah, this is stupid talk because right away, the only medical clinics are authorized or nothing. I've never heard of foster care having medical clinics. Did you have a pediatrician? Did you have a pediatrician?
she she was
Okay. Was this nurse a doctor? Was this nurse a doctor? Did this nurse work for a medical group? Who did the nurse work for? Okay. Is this family medical clinic authorized to conduct medical service on children? Well, no, they're not. And I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to help you build a case for malpractice. I'm trying to help you turn the tables on CPS because I'm trying to help you think outside of the box. Because here's what the problem is. Just like the lady that thought her 4-month-old child had appendicitis, which is a pain in the right abdomen. This was in the left abdomen, and when they did X-rays, they saw the gastric stones, and that's what was causing discomfort to the child. And they removed the appendix, which is very important for children growing up because it gives you immunity to a lot of the diseases. People don't understand the appendices, and the reason why I was getting into your terminology is that I'm trying to educate myself and learn because sometimes you go in reverse. You go and dig into what the thing is, and then you try to put the whole picture. So what you do is you got a nurse working for some type of a medical group that is recognized by foster care, not by the medical association, or I don't know what their license is or anything else, is dictating now on medical procedures. CPS is notorious for thinking they're clinical psychiatrists. It takes a clinical psychiatrist to tell if someone's crazy enough. And so I never trust anything that's fabricated by CPS. And that's what they've done. Somehow they've created this clinic through foster care. And it's wrong. Your pediatrician is the primary person you should go to first about anything. Whoever your doctor is for your child. Do you have one?
Yes.
And then what did she examine when she examined the child? What did she say? Who refused? Who refused? Well, the agency isn't in control. That's why you got to reverse the table. They haven't taken away your medical rights. As a parent, you're constitutional. Well, you need to talk like I'm talking. You need to tell them, look, I have my constitutional rights. I need to take my daughter to a pediatrician. I'm not taking them to somebody I don't know and not going to have a nurse dictate. I have to have a person that's licensed, that is a doctor. A nurse goes through medical school, I agree. And they're good for maybe helping out administrating drugs and helping with patient relief and pain and that kind of things. But they're not a doctor. Only a doctor can diagnose something there. And see, what you need to do is you and your attorney got to reverse it. Pardon? Well, then that's because are you using a court appointed attorney? Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is the problem about CPS. And this is the problem that most parents, and that's why I told you about Doge. All you have to do is tell Doge what I'm telling you, that they did a medical misunderstanding and blah, 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 blah. And Doge will be definitely investigating that foster home in New York, or that foster agency that's posing as a medical group, or the CPS group that's posing. Go ahead.
The end of the day, they've had her very short amount of time. It's like almost every week and a half, she's moving again. The foster mother came in to a visit, and they were just like scrambling around. I didn't know what was going on. They pull out some car seat in the back that has all these stains and dust. They shuffle it to this room, and then they bring my daughter out wrapped in a blanket in this dirty, dusty car seat, and like, okay, on a visit. Let's go to the next room. You can visit. And I'm like, what's going on? I see her bag that has her belongings, like, baby wipes and diapers and whatever. It was in a bag at like from a deli or a corner store or a supermarket, and one of those plastic bags.
Well, see, I'm missing the point where your child, I guess what happened was you were in the hospital and they took away your child. Is that what happened?
They came to people were banging on my basis I needed to bring my baby. Actually, the police banging on my door, and they told me I needed to bring my baby in, and I brought my baby.
Why did you answer the door? Why did you answer the door?
I'm a single mom alone, and
right.
I'm a black woman. Nobody wants to
Understood.
on this door.
And you're a beautiful black woman, and you're doing all the right things. And I too answered the door. I too allowed myself to police to walk all over me. I too allowed CPS to walk all over me. Since that time, I've learned. Yeah. Go ahead.
The police didn't, and there was no preventative services. There was no case planning. There was no investigation.
It's supposed to start off with a detention hearing. They're supposed to have a detention hearing. If there's enough evidence, they can remove the child from you. But they're supposed to have what's called a detention hearing within 24 hours. They investigate within 24 hours. Within 48 hours, they have the retention hearing. And what's happened is you don't know. See, you don't know all this stuff. And the reason why I'm not trying to be picking on you or sound like I'm harsh, but I have right now thousands of people listening to me right now, and they're all going through the same thing you're going through. And I want people to get in their head that you don't open doors to police or social workers. You don't let your family open the door. You would say, do you have a warrant? Do you have a warrant to turn over my child? No, they didn't have a warrant. Then you tell them you do not touch my child. My legal rights are, and I'm going to get a hold of my attorney, even though you may not have an attorney. You guys out there is the Yeah, go ahead.
Because if you have that encounter, as I did, all right, and you don't turn over your child, they say the police will arrest you. And I asked the police officer, "Would you arrest me?" And he nodded. So
well, they're going to try to arrest you, but whether the judge in court, when they hear your case, and then you have a lawsuit against them for false arrest, they have to have a reason to arrest you. They have to have a warrant to remove your child to come into your home. They have to warrant. If you're outside, they have to show you a warrant to take a child from your arms or hands. Well, then,
they did a surgery on your baby without your consent. They are now when you go on the visit, the foster mother is like saying basically the CPS worker gave the impression that the foster mother did not want the baby anymore. That's why the child was just brought like that. No stroller, no car seat, no baby.
Because they're gonna
like
lie.
normal.
They're gonna lie. The CPS workers will lie.
Yes. The supervisor everything she needs. It's just in a car. And she has a really fancy one. She just didn't want to bring it inside for whatever reason.
Did you know that the number 2 race that is picked on in our society is the black race? And the number 1 race is the Native American Indian race? They are picked upon. They are picked upon. Black people are picked upon. Black people are shot more times and killed than any other race, except for the Native American Indians. Yeah.
Because they were so, but did not want me to see her umbilical cord. They took me away from the visit. That my milk supply to nurse the baby is almost all gone.
Well, that's true. But what you do is you document everything, because eventually you'll get your time in court and sue for millions of dollars. You have a really strong case there. If they arrest you for false arrest, the police will have to pay. They do settlements all the time. Now, I know that people have been killed and it's wrong. All you have to do is look at all the black people that have been wrongly accused or strangled. And that's what I'm saying, that yeah.
CPS office. I'm not taking my baby.
Well, first of all, the policemen are overzealous. They're supposed to protect and to serve people. They're not supposed to make up their own laws, and they're not supposed to enforce CPS's wishes. They're supposed to protect CPS workers. The reason why you see police with the social workers is protect the social workers from getting hit on the head by irate parents. There are some parents that are upset, and they will hit a social worker on the head or try to kill them. No, that's what anger happens, is social workers come out to a neighborhood full of, I mean, it is hostile, that neighborhood. Yeah.
The baby's conscious is very crazy. So I'm trying to nurse her, and she's nursing somewhat, but she can't get milk because of the delay and how long she's been separated. I reach into the bag and pull out a bottle. It has milk in it. I try to. I look at the milk. The milk looks very watery, and I'm like, "What's going on with this milk? It's not supposed to look like this."
You squirt some on your hand and hold it up to your nose. Did you smell it? Right. If you squirt the milk on your hand and hold it up to nose, it'll be bad milk. And again, you take pictures of that. You take pictures of that and you document. That is how you build your case.
It's not milk. It's stimulant with water, take it or whatever.
Right. Right.
The baby from the foster mother moments ago. So what are you feeding my daughter? Okay, I've seen this same bottle in that visit feeding her, and so she had another bottle that had powder already at the bottom. It was nothing in the matter that you measure and you do it right there in front of you. Already at the bottom, and we opened that one. It was sour too. So you got a sour bottle that does not even been sterilized and cleaned, and rotten milk in this one. And I almost gave that to my newborn my newborn baby. And then now the caseworker is embarrassed, like, oh wow, this is bad. This is like, yes, this is bad. You took my baby away, and God knows how much of this milk, because it was only a little bit left, has been drinking. Okay, and this is the fourth home, and now you say this lady doesn't want my baby. And at the end of the visit, I say, well, listen, why don't you let me take my child home? The lady doesn't want her. You don't apparently have another place that you can put her.
Well, do they
So
have a reason why they should keep the baby? Have they established a reason?
You're not asking me to do any services because the reason took my baby was really unjustified. They're like, yeah, we don't have those reasons yet.
You're supposed to have a case plan within the. You're doing everything backwards, not you, but they are doing everything backwards.
But the lawyers are not going in there saying return her child immediately. So I have my legal team, and I'm saying my legal team, you're not giving me my court order visit. My baby I'm being told she needs emergency surgery. They're changing her home almost every week and a half. She's being given rotten milk from what it looks like. She's having procedures I did not consent to. You're supposed to go to court and say, give her her baby back. My home is being safe, and the lawyers don't want to do that. They don't want to go in and file a motion. I have to go and file a motion to say I want to have the immediate return of my child. All right, and I have to file a motion that I want the visit. What the judges ordered for court ordered visits. I want those court ordered visits to commence now. It's considered an emergency. You're denying access to my child and our parent bond to nurse and considering all these things, this is wrong. And when I go in there and I file it myself, they're telling me, well, you cannot go in and talk to a judge on this because you're represented by an attorney. And so your attorney has to be here with you. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, well, let me go. I think I just saw her walking in the other direction. Will you please come up? I'm going to go to their office. They have a little office there in the courthouse. I have an emergency hearing. I did an emergency motion without you. Would you come upstairs? And they're saying you need to be here in order for me to get this heard for emergency visits because they haven't been having them. I'm supposed to have them, the judge that tries to make every effort for daily visits for breastfeeding and bonding. And every time the caseworker is telling me, I have so many people and I really can't, I only had two. I only had two. And the last week I had none. The week before that I had none. But the judge has ordered X, Y, Z. So you need to stand up and tell the judge. And then when we go there, the clerk comes out of the courtroom and is saying, who filed this? The caseworker, I'm sorry, you filed it or your attorney? Which one? And I'm thinking, it doesn't matter. It's filed. We're waiting for our hearing. And she said, well, she filed it. Okay, hold on. Let me talk to me, and they talked to my attorney, and she walks up over there, and she's discussing with the clerk. Who's discussing with the clerk about their case in the hallway? No, you just call our case, and we talk about it in front of the judge. You understand? We don't do this like, oh, we're going to whisper, and we're not going to hear this, and we're going to figure out a way so she doesn't get hurt in the process. And then they go in and come back out and says, no interim release. They're not going to go in the courtroom with my attorney. And when we walked away, no interim release. So I'm like, hold on. If you want to have this first, you have to schedule a hearing, which I already had a calendar date for me to have the immediate return of my child. That date is not come up yet. So basically, whatever this foster agency and CPS wants to do, they can do it because because my lawyers are refusing to fight for me. And I filed a motion to get rid of these attorneys and represent myself so that I can have a voice for my child. And they're not honoring that either. So how can I make sure that we get our due process as parents? Like, I'm not the only one where your voice is silenced when you talk to a judge. Your petitions or the things that you file for yourself are ignored. What can I do?
Well, one of the hardest problems you have with this whole case is you're forced to use a court-appointed attorney. That's the mistake that you're making. And CPS knows that you're using a court-appointed attorney. Your child has a court-appointed attorney. Is the father involved, or is the father not involved with his child?
I don't want to talk about the father on the air. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well,
because my case is
here's what it is. Every child that's brought into CPS has a biological father and a biological mother. CPS talks about both parents, and sometimes mistakenly they give the child to the father who has done harm. I'm sad to say, but they will first find out who the parents are, and then they will try to, the first step is, should the child stay with the parents? If the parents have domestic violence, whether married or not, that's not a healthy situation. So I know you can't talk about the father. All I ask is that is he involved? Is he involved?
They have taken this baby because of my other three children I mentioned are in Florida with a relative, right? And that they say, well, because that relative called in CPS and made an allegation that I don't have my other children, that I shouldn't basically have this one. And they want this other relative wants my newborn. So this is what is,
and how did I didn't know about that. Your other three children, why were they taken from you?
Those kids because
now I know. This is the case where you were on vacation in Canada and you decided to stay in a shelter. Okay, now I know. Now I know it. Yeah. Now it all comes together. Yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
They gave them to this relative without proper paperwork, and the court orders or anything domesticated in the U.S. or transferred to CPS agency, they didn't transfer the file, they didn't register this with any U.S. court, and just gave them to this relative in Florida. So this relative in Florida feels so empowered to have these kids of mine, and basically once this relative found out that I had had my newborn, called up and said she doesn't have these. Now the reason I don't have these is because of lack of due process in Canada. All right, and the judge has already decided so that these kids are not old enough. And at the end of the day, that case is still open, and it's all tied together. It's all tied together. Where the judge in New York was trying to find out, not anymore because our case, not anymore, but why were your kids removed? Did you get your rights terminated? I have not. But what they're trying to do in Canada is keep my kids with this other relative who's hiding them away from me and is trying to force no contact. So if you don't have contact with your children for 3 months, all right, then they can move to terminate your rights in Canada. Say she has had no contact with these children. Now, it's not that I don't want contact, it's that you instructed this relative to keep their address hidden from me. All right? And you've instructed them not to allow me to have any calls or any contact whatsoever. And this has gone to such an extreme that where they have tried to file an order of protection from having contact with these 3 children, and this relative is not even their legal guardian by any U.S. state.
Have you
They've
reported
gone in front of a
this?
judge.
Have you reported this to the FBI as stolen children, and they don't have the paperwork to?
How do I? As I do the county, and initially the judge said that you can pick up your 3 kids because there's nothing in any U.S. court that says that you did not have your kids. So there's nothing in any U.S. court. There's no CPS report or anything about you and these 3 kids from Canada that this aunt has. So go get you can go pick up your kids. And then when I pick up my kids, I get a wrongful false arrest, in which she's saying I tried to burglarize. I basically tried to kidnap my own kids. Now they didn't charge me with kidnapping. I got charged with burglary. Okay, threw me in jail, and now she's trying to file an order of protection on behalf of my kids to say that I shouldn't go near them. And she wants to use this order of protection as a way to keep me from having contact with them. All right, a legal document that can say you can't have contact. It was not he's not a CPS agent that said I couldn't have contact, but she's trying to use the law system. She's trying to abuse the mechanisms of an order of protection. She filed for domestic violence order of protection on behalf of my children. And what did the judge do? The judge issued it. Now, initially, the judge did not issue that. Okay, when she filed, they said this is inappropriate. Like, you can't file an order, but I'll give you a hearing date. Okay, so we can discuss why you want this order of protection against this mother and these 3 children. So that was before one judge in a Florida county. All right. When I wanted to pick up my children, and she filed a false report saying I basically tried to kidnap them, I was arrested. I showed them all of my documents. I showed them that I went to the court and filed legally for the police to basically pick up my children. I'm waiting for the decision. I called the police and told them, this person has my children. Can I pick them up? They said yes. It doesn't matter what paperwork you have from Canada or Mexico. If it's not registered with any U.S. court and nobody has deemed you unfit by any U.S. state or taking away your parental rights, we will go and enforce your parental rights to go get your child. Just call an officer, go to wherever she's at, call the officer, and they will do that process. When we're trying to do that, I'm trying to do that, and the officer's treating me like a criminal.
Yeah.
And they want to pull out their taser, and they don't want to turn on their body cam. And I walk away. I call the police again from another location with firefighters. Like, I'm not going to stand in front of his house by myself being this person's not turning on their body cam. Eventually, she called, when she saw that the police are here with me, she tried to turn it around and say, call the police again and say, this person's trying to burglarize us or rob us or take the kids away.
I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you because right now you're going to, okay.
These are my children. And this is the judge that handles this, picking up these kids. This is a different judge. These are my children, and she cannot hold on to them because she has no paperwork. The paper that she has from Canada is not registered in any U.S. court. She cannot keep these kids. She went in and filed an order of protection to stop the pickup of these kids by the court. And then now the judge's like, oh, well, apparently she has some type of paperwork from Canada. Well, did any police officer actually look to see if she had it? Did they look to see if she's a legal guardian? No, they didn't. They just took her word for it and had me arrested on charges.
Okay.
And now she wants to use that, what looks like a false arrest, to try to say, well, now the kid should have an order of protection because look at what she tried to do to us. And you have to keep them away.
Okay.
So
if you want help, you're going to have to go to somebody at the top. And I want to recommend you that you talk to the assistant director in charge of the FBI in New York. His name is Christopher Rea, R-A-I-A. His phone number is 212-384-1000. He's in New York City, New York at 26 Federal Plaza, 23rd floor. How are you going to word it? Is you want to call and report that your children were stolen and they were taken from you that while you were on a vacation trip in Canada and taken down to Florida. They do not have any paperwork that can produce that they are the guardianship of those children. Your education and medical rights have not been terminated from your children. You're still a legal parent, but you also need to have your driver's license and your birth certificate of each of the children that you want to get back. Do you have birth certificates for those children?
Now, when I was down there, you could say that it was all connected or just an isolated event. I went to the Waffle House. I met somebody come up to me and it's like, oh, interested in me. And basically my backpack was stolen by this person. I had a backpack. I carry these documents with me everywhere. I don't even leave.
But you can get copies. You get certified copies of the children's birth certificate. All you need is do you have a driver's license?
Yes.
Okay. All you need to do is go, where were the children born? Where were the children born?
They were born here in the U.S.
I know, but where in the U.S.? Okay. All right. Okay. I understand that. Wherever they were born, you're going to contact the county for a copy of their birth certificate. You as a parent can do that, and you do it by the mail on the internet. And I walked in to get certificates of my children all the time. It may take weeks, but right now it's the best you can do because if you're living where they were born, then you can hand walk it through. But if you don't, then it's going to be there. But what will happen is you can show that to the FBI that here's the birth certificate. Here I'm listed as the mother. Here's my driver's license that shows who I am. And if you have your birth certificate, you can show that. Because CPS won't be able to show any paperwork. And as you know, the Canadian law has nothing to do with the U.S. law. Okay.
The judge gave that gave my children to this court, they gave her temporary custody just for 30 days, and they said, we want you to produce the actual certified stamped copy of paperwork that you should have these kids because you didn't bring anything like that of these kids. I'm giving you 30 days to get that and bring them and domesticate whatever Canada says that you should have them and domesticate them in the U.S. court here. I'm going to tell you how to do it. You follow motion XYZ. He's actually giving her instructions while we're in court, and I said, objection, this is unlawful. You're counseling her, and I'm the one that filed for my kids back. She's not even here presently, physically present in the courtroom or on the video team. She's on a phone call, and she didn't appear. This is her second time she didn't appear because she knew she had these things to legitimize her having these kids. So she sheepishly, he keeps calling and calling and calling her, and she finally picks up. And basically, this is what he's immediately starts counseling her. And I was like, no, if you're going to give her advice for how she can keep my kids, you need to give me advice about how I can enforce my parental rights. And he's telling me if you talk, you'll be thrown out of this courtroom. So unlawfully, without any paperwork, that she can have custody for the next 30 days, and you have to stay away from these children. This is what he wrote in his order. I was like, why would I have to stay away from my own kids? I've never had any judge say that I should stay away. The paperwork she's given is in a different language. It's all in French. Nothing is stamped. Nothing is certified. Nothing is sealed on this page. It looks like you could just type it up at a Word document. All right? And he didn't even permit me to see the paperwork. He said, you can look at it after the hearing is over. But she presented some documents to me. And so after the hearing was over, I got this answer. So wait, if she's going to present some type of evidence to you, I have a right to look at that evidence. He wouldn't allow me to look at it during the hearing. He just read a couple lines in English that was there, but the rest is in French. I thought based on those 2 lines, there's nothing here that says I shouldn't have contact with my children. Why are you now creating a U.S. order that is giving her what she doesn't have, which is 30 days to have these kids without having anything that's certified and domesticated and telling her how to do it? And these kids don't even know her. They've never met her a day in their life. And they've been there for less than 30 days. And she's not giving any contact. What are you doing? He does that anyway. And so I feel totally, just totally run over by orders that's not even legit. So in the interim, you should at least err on the side to say, well, this is her parent. There's never been anything in any court that says this lady should not be with these kids at all. And you're giving them to a stranger. She's a stranger to them. They've never met her. And at this point, we're glad we're out of that Canadian nonsense. We're in U.S., but I have a lawful due process. And you're giving her 30 days. So with these 30 days, she goes to the other courthouse to file an order of protection. That judge can undo what the last judge did. Okay, so I'm expecting to go there and have an actual fair judge. And 10 minutes before my hearing, I get an email saying he's going to be the judge on this hearing for the order of protection. So he's going to do. I had filed papers to have him remove himself. I filed papers to appeal his decision. I filed papers that said, give me at least one of my children, because the papers you gave me, nothing said anything about my son. It only mentioned my 2 daughters. So there's absolutely nothing in there about my son. So at least in the meantime, if she has nothing, no little Word document that they typed up, you should at least be giving me back my son. He doesn't answer any of the petitions I filed, any of them. I request transcripts of him giving her all this advice. I haven't gotten anything. You understand what I'm saying? Nothing.
Well, ma'am, I understand what you're saying, but the problem being is that you're doing this without any kind of a legal help. And that's what the problem is. You're like a cat chasing its tail. Yes, you may file a petition. You don't have to have money to call the FBI. I'm reading here on the internet the steps of getting your children that have been abducted wrong by a parent or a family member. Your child has been abducted by a family member in Florida, right? Okay. Okay. The Canada jurisdiction over your children, they're not Canadian citizens. They can't do that. It isn't about the judge. It's about the FBI. They have a network. I don't know if you're familiar with the National Crime Information Center, the NCIC, but that's a virtual entity. It's a clearinghouse of data that will protect your children. They'll give your child a number. Once your child is entered into the NCIC, then there's something called the child find and the missing children posters we create. So there's sightings of this. So if you know where your child is, okay. No. The problem is Canada has no jurisdiction. You're not a Canadian citizen. You don't seem to. They don't have jurisdiction. They don't have jurisdiction. And if you went to the embassy in Canada, okay, I guess I can't say anything more because I'm not making any sense to you. And I'm sorry. But okay, that's why you need to call Doge. Doge is the next thing to President Trump. It's the White House. And you need to explain to them what is happening. You're saying that the country of Canada, has now jurisdiction over U.S. citizens, and they can dictate what a U.S. citizen. Well, the judge in New York is corrupt. There are so many corrupt judges in New York. Have you seen the corrupt judges in New York? Have you heard them? They're crucifying the president of the United States in New York. There are so many judges, and the prosecuted attorney in New York has quit. And believe me, Trump is making a lot of changes, and that's why Doge will fix things. And why I'm saying it, the more you call the FBI is not going to turn a cold shoulder on there. You explain to them and you narrow it down to something simple. You say you're on vacation in Canada and Canada government interfered with your family. They're not Canadian citizens. And a relative orchestrated a complaint to Canada about your children. And Canada wrongly went in and interfered with your children. You should be right now. You told me a family member called. You said a family member called. Okay, I'm confused. Where is this family member? Where's this family member?
The Canadian agency. So because that was the whole taking my newborn because my other three kids have my other three kids. But originally, those three kids were taken in Canada when I was visiting. The judge ruled that you don't, she didn't.
Well, without legal counsel, you're not going to go very far on this matter. Because if you don't want to call the FBI, you can file. I understand what you're trying to do. I have a daughter that is now 22 years old that was taken from me illegally at 12. And I don't have $50,000 to hire my attorney to take my child back. I know the laws are unfair. That's why I'm saying, have you talked to Doge? Have you talked to Doge? Have you talked to the FBI?
Children, that means you can go, you violated a restraining order and you can go to jail. These CPS, which is DCF in Florida, called me after, maybe 30 minutes after the hearing and said, we're going forward to make recommendations against you. So now DCF is trying to open up a CPS case against me in Florida. And I say, how are you opening a case against me when I have not been taking care of these kids for the past year or so because they were in Canada and now they're with my aunt. So now how are you coming
the children that are in Florida, does your aunt have guardianship papers that says she has legal guardianships of the three children? Well, that's all you have to tell the FBI. Oh, that's all you have to tell the FBI. Okay, I'm just trying. You have to go in stepping stones. You have to deal with one thing at a time. Again. No, my problem is my show time has been over 20 some minutes ago. and I'm going to have to continue this on tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock or tomorrow night at 7. I've run out of time. I have a legal requirement that I have to end my show at 8 o'clock, and going a half an hour beyond my time is against my restraints here. And I'm not trying to be rude, but I'm trying to tell you this is very complex. Well, it's not that. It's that you're sitting here like a Dutch boy over in Holland with a dam that's ready to burst, and you have all your fingers put in all these holes. Your problem is you got too many holes, so you got to tackle them one at a time. Your first step is to get that NCIS number and call the FBI and say that your children have been illegally stolen from you from Canada and right now staying with an aunt that you don't have guardianship. Then after that, then you can go and address the DCF or the CPS system in New York. Does that make sense?
And yeah, for the newborns.
Well, okay. It's so hard for you to do this without legal representation. Because I don't know the law and you don't know the law, and you need someone that has international law experience as well as juvenile. CPS doesn't have common sense like that. CPS in New York is corrupt. I have already 10 cases in New York, and they all are corrupt. I have KK Richardson in Brooklyn, New York, a black mother who now has the family turned against her, and they've now charged her with neglect. She has a law degree in juvenile law, family law, and dependency law. She knows how to fight. But believe me, the legal system in New York is very, 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 very corrupt, whether you're talking about criminal matters or CPS matters.
Yeah.
Well, I know that for a fact because a black airman was murdered in Gainesville, Florida for answering the door. He shot 5 times point blank by a sheriff from Gainesville on May 3rd, and he's dead. He died on the phone talking to his fiance. His mother in Alabama is devastated. And this is a black airman of the United States Air Force serving our country. And a sheriff in Gainesville, Florida did that to him, and they just fired him. They didn't prosecute him. He has a civil lawsuit against the guy. There's an attorney in the South that does a lot of civil lawsuits of wrongfully black people being killed. He's famous because I think he had the guy out here in L.A., Rodney, I forgot his last name. And then there was George that was strangled by the neck hole, by the knee on the neck, that was killed. He's handling, George Floyd and Rodney. I forgot what Rodney's last name in L.A. was. Rodney King and George Floyd. That attorney that represents both those cases, he's done a personal civil lawsuit. He's doing the same thing for the black airman in Gainesville, Florida. His mother had hired him from Alabama. I don't have the name. I'm sad to say, but you can look on it. It's May 3rd. It's May 3rd of 2024. He was shot 5 times in the chest by the Gainesville Sheriff Department. May 3rd of 2024. Wow. Okay. Well, the reason why I suggest the Doge thing is that I'm giving an outlet for people. You can sit here and go before Congress. You can drive to the Capitol and ask to be on the agenda on the floor and address Congress. But you usually have to get a senator or representative to introduce you to the floor. But that's the only way you can make any kind of radical changes. No, it goes in one ear and goes out the other ear. You know why? Because 99% of the congressmen and representatives are politicians. 99% of the governors and the mayors of every state and city are politicians. And politicians work on money. They don't work for what is fair or wrong or right. Politicians are corrupt. That's why you got a president of the United States who's not a politician. He bends all the rules. He does not take a dime from the federal government as a salary. And he started off right away in January creating DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, and put Elon Musk in charge of it for his max time of 130 days, which is up to the. He had to walk away because he's only hired for 130 days. That's the requirements. You can hire a temporary person, but he can work no more than 130 days. He can come back in 6 months, by the way. But today, the 31st, was his 130th day. From January, I think it was January 25th to today is 130 days. That's why he walked away. There's too many people saying, oh, he went back to take care of his Tesla cars, or he went back to take care of his SpaceX rockets, or he went back to take care of his satellite program. I mean, no, but he had to go. He left a couple days early, and he wrote a nice letter thanking Trump for his position. But most people are really sour-mouthed and think because he was in a pot of boiling oil and using a wooden spoon to try to stir, and he found all kinds of gobbledygook in there. I know. They want money. And to take the kids from Florida to New York is going to give them millions of dollars. They're going to get lots of money because the government will pay for all that. They go through what's called ICPC, the Interstate Compact for Placement for Children. And that organization will milk the government for money. They'll have to transfer the. No. They're going to take your children from Florida. They're going to take your children from Florida and bring them to New York. You just told me, I'm confused now. You told me that New York DCF. Oh. Well, can we just say CPS? Can we say CPS? Because I don't know all the acronyms. You guys out there know them all firsthand. And I don't know if they're CPS or DCF or the cabinet or where the name is. Just say CPS. The CPS in Florida wants to take you.
They're just waiting to me. As soon as they take me out of the equation, that's why DCF is starting this case up against me.
Well, I think as long as you speak to DOGE and long as you speak to the FBI, you might see some changes happening. And please call me back. Now, you are going to have a talk with Vincent Davis, right? I've scheduled that for you. Oh, okay. Did you leave me your full name and your email and your phone number and text it to me to my number? Have you done that? Yeah, I'll put the number on right now. Let me not this number. That's Doge. Hold on. No, hold on. It's my phone number for my office. Yeah, the number you're calling now. And I will line you up with Mr. Davis. Now, it's very important when you talk to Mr. Davis because I'll give you 15 minutes of this time. You make your list of questions and prioritize them. Well, why did I not offer you this before? I'm confused. Did I offer you this before? Oh, okay. Well, no, I can't do that. But I'll tell you this: if you call again, I'll give you another 15 minutes. And if you want to spend $60, I can give you a 30-minute private Zoom consultation with attorney Vincent Davis. All you have to do is go to the website. I'll put that up. And that's for $60. You get a 30-minute consultation. You go there to candidly.com/apps, DWD/Bob Pace. He will answer your questions. He will answer your questions. Whatever your legal questions are, you need to write them down and prioritize them. Put number one, number two, whatever they are, and ask them. And he's not a clock watcher. So you can tell them, you can very quickly, sum your story, say that you talked to Bob Pace. It's very important you say you talked to him. And that you discuss your situation. You're on vacation. I want to make this simple. You're on vacation, and the Canadian government arrested you because you stayed at a shelter that was cheaper than the hotel. Okay. They took the kids, the CPS agency in Canada took the kids and turned them over to the relative in Florida who made the call to the Canadian CPS. And you have a newborn child that they're trying to get from New York, that you had in New York, and trying to put them in there. Tell them that your aunt doesn't have custodianship of them, no guardianship. And if you have their birth certificate and your driver's license, you can claim them, but you need those important documents. So wherever the child was born, well, it doesn't make any difference if you don't need to worry about them. You need to worry about the court of law you're going to go to. It sounds like it's going to have to be the federal law, the federal courts, because it's international, because you got a jurisdiction country going against a U.S. citizen. And believe me, Doge would love to hear about that, and so would President Trump at the White House. No. And it's
the family is here. Citizens, what are you saying? You cannot do anything because this case originated in Canada. And at the end of the day, the Canadians already ruled, the judge already ruled that she did not find me guilty of.
The judge doesn't have jurisdiction over Americans. What law did you violate that was internationally wrong in Canada? You had to violate a law in Canada. Okay. Well, that's why you need an attorney, a fighter of attorney, somebody that's assertive, that knows the laws. But anyway, I've shown you one way for 15 minutes. I've shown you another way for 30 minutes. And if you call in again, which I hope you do, I'll give you another 15 minutes. Within a week, my show producer, Grace, will get in contact with you. All right? Thank you. God bless you. All right, I got to end my show. For all you listeners out there, Shelly O, I'm so glad from Toledo, Ohio, you called me. Heather, it's so nice to hear from you. I forgot what area you live in, Heather, and I don't know. Heather says here, my family been dealing with DCF for 9 months. My mother-in-law has custody of my 5 nieces and nephews until CPS kidnapped them. She is hearing impaired, and the courts are trying to use that against her, which is wrong. I don't know where you're from, Heather. Actress 511, you have a question, but I never heard from it again. And so Heather is from Missouri, by the way. I forgot to say that. So thank you all, including the nice lady from New York that called in and that she'd been wrongly caught up in this nightmare of a mess. God bless all of you. Keep fighting for your kids. I'll be on tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. There's a short message. Please listen to it from my attorney. Good night.
A vivid picture is encrypted in your mind as the critics get in line like they're witnessing a crime. But then you notice there's a shiver in your spine from the feelings of discontentment and bitterness combined. Heartbroken when you listen to the judges, another kid's innocence corrupted, and if you go against then it's destructive. Consider this predicament the toughest, but we believe in a system fit for justice. Child Protective Services only pretends to save it. The one solution for this is worthy of instant praises. 30 years of experience with relentless cases. Allow me to introduce him. This is Vincent Davis, defending you when they don't think a mother fits the role. Is it juvenile dependency or government control? Observe the pain in their eyes. It's time for us to realize we are the last one.